Shrinking economy. Official figures out today are expected to confirm the worst, that Britain is heading for recession.
Emergency energy talks. The world's oil-producing countries will discuss cutting production in a bid to stop prices falling.
Embryo MOTs, the revolutionary genetic screening that critics warn could lead to the creation of designer babies. That's what we're talking about on the News Hour today. It's Friday, the 24th of October, 2008.
Hello, good morning. You're watching the News Hour. It's 6 o'clock. Also this hour, a warning to parents to stay safe behind the wheel. We'll look at the risks being taken to get children to school on time.
And after past, the curious incident of the missing moggies. Now, it's baffled experts. Police and locals in Wollaston in the West Midlands are all confused. Just how can 47 cats disappear without trace?
Intriguing stuff. Let's find out what the weekend weather has in store. Here's Claire.
Hello, good morning. Now, the rain's clearing away from the far southeast, and that's good news for everyone today. Most of us seeing some sunshine, showers across the far north and west already, a blustery breeze up here, but a much better start to the day than yesterday. The rain will have cleared by lunchtime. That means this afternoon, most of us seeing some sunshine. The showers continuing across central and northern areas of the country as we head through the next few days. We're more rain on the way for Saturday. It clears on Sunday, and then it's turning much, much colder next week. More details in 25 minutes, Kate.
Thanks very much indeed. Now our top story, and the first clear indication of the state of the economy is expected in a few hours' time when the Office for National Statistics publishes growth figures for July to September this year. Now, they are expected to show that the economy shrank for the first time since the recession of the 1990s. Pressure is growing now for a cut in interest rates. Well, Gloria De Piero is outside number 11 Downing Street. Morning, Gloria.
Good morning. Kate, for 16 years, Britain's economy has been growing, but that period of growth, that very long period of growth, has now come to an end. And we heard from the Prime Minister earlier this week. We heard from the Governor of the Bank of England earlier this week that recession is looming, and those official figures out later will show that Britain is indeed heading into recession. Redundancies are rising fast. Home repossessions are up. Sales of things like cars, clothes and shoes are down. Even sales of food are down for the first time in more than 20 years. And shops should be about to enter their most profitable 10 weeks of the year in the run-up to Christmas, but they are going to struggle as we all have less cash to spend. But to avoid or to alleviate this deepening gloom, there is increasing speculation that the Bank of England will cut interest rates further before Christmas to give us a bit more cash to spend to help restore some of that growth to the economy. Now, Kate, what we do not know is what kind of recession this is going to be, how many jobs are going to be lost, how many homes are going to be repossessed, how long is it going to go on for? Is it just a short shower, or is it going to be a prolonged downpour? And that's something that economists cannot agree on or predict accurately. But what everyone seems to agree is that it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Gloria, thank you very much.
Well, the city, meanwhile, is braced for another volatile day on the stock exchange. Analysts are also watching events in Geneva, where OPEC leaders are holding an emergency summit to cut oil production and therefore drive up prices. Hank Potts is at the stock exchange for us this morning. What do you know, Hank?
Well, the one silver lining that we've seen from the recent financial turmoil is the fact that the oil price has actually been falling over the course of the past few months. Back in July, it hit a peak of $147 a barrel. Yesterday, it was trading below $70 a barrel. Of course, we know a high oil price acts as a tax on global growth, but OPEC, which controls 40% of the global oil supply, will be looking to reverse that trend today. They'll be looking to cut production, try to reduce the supply and drive up prices once again. And as you quite rightly point out, the other big focus for market participants today is the official confirmation that actually the UK is now in recession for the first time in 16 years. We know the weakness that we've been seeing in the housing market has been intensifying. The labour market continues to soften. Business, consumer, investor confidence has been absolutely hammered. The one thing we can say for certain, set to be another trying day here in the London markets.
Hank, for the time being, thanks very much indeed.
OK, well, let's get this morning's other top stories now. Here's Priya.
Thanks, Kate. Good morning. Future parents could soon be able to screen embryos for every possible genetic condition after British scientists developed a universal test that's quick and accurate. Here's Nick Dixon.
It's a scientific breakthrough that could kill off inherited illnesses. Parents will soon be able to screen embryos for almost any known genetic disease using a new test developed by British scientists. At the moment, only 2% of the 15,000 known genetic conditions can be identified in embryos. The new test will be known as a genetic MOT. It involves creating embryos by IVF treatment and removing a single cell from each when they're just 2 days old. It'll take just weeks to carry out from start to finish, and scientists say it's suitable for people at risk of almost any condition. Parents could theoretically be told about their embryo's risk of developing conditions like Alzheimer's, heart disease or even breast cancer, leading to concerns that embryos could be discarded or used for the creation of so-called designer babies. Scientists say it would even be possible to use the test to select an embryo with a particular eye colour or to screen for multiple genes known to affect height or weight. This genetic MOT could be available as early as next year.
A slimming drug used by hundreds of thousands of people has been taken off the market because of fears about side effects. The European Medicines Agency took the decision to remove Acomplia after some patients suffered serious psychiatric problems. The drug's being used to help overweight patients with type 2 diabetes, but studies have found it doubles the risk of psychiatric disorders, including depression, anxiety and aggression. Thousands of women who stayed at home to raise children or look after relatives will now be able to get a full pension. The government is due to announce changes to the rules so that those who've not paid enough national insurance can top up their contributions and qualify for the full state pension. It'll mean that by around 2025, around 90% of women will get the full benefit compared to just 35% now. More than 2/3 of parents break basic driving rules and regulations while on the school run. That's according to research released today. The study says speeding, dangerous parking and stopping in the middle of the road are all putting children at risk. Edward Barron reports.
Home time at this primary in Essex, and we didn't have to look hard to see some pretty bad driving. Within minutes, 2 parents parked on the yellow zigzag markings outside, markings supposed to allow children to cross more safely. But parents here say there's usually far more and far worse.
Parents block the road and then they're pipping horns and trying to push past in the cars while the children are trying to cross the road. They literally stop in the middle of the road amongst all the busy traffic in the mornings. They literally drop the children out. A lot of parking on the zigzag lines.
A new survey shows more than 2/3 of parents break basic driving rules on the school run. 1 in 4 admitted to stopping on a junction. 1 in 5 stopped in the middle of the road to let passengers in or out, while 1 in 8 admitted speeding in a school zone. Well, of course, the clocks go back this weekend. With that, the school run becomes that bit more hazardous. With all these bad habits, the experts say both children and parents are being put at risk.
Look what's on the website this morning. We want a snapshot of how stressed Britain is today, so you can take our survey and let us know what gets you stressed. Also, Bond's Aston Martin DB5 has been voted the most iconic British car of all time. Find out what else made the list and watch an exclusive interview with Mick Hucknall as Simply Red prepares to say goodbye. All that and more, GM.TV. 8 minutes past 6 is the time. Back to Kate and John.
Thanks very much, Dee.
OK, let's have a look at the papers this morning. Mixed bag of stories, but a lot of them touching on that threat of recession. Daily Telegraph: drivers face rise in price of petrol. This is a warning, or a threat rather, by OPEC to cut oil production, which might mean that there's less oil out there. Gordon Brown's saying that would be ridiculous if that were to happen. The Guardian. Alan Greenspan, who of course was the I suppose, what would you say?
Financial guru.
The financial guru, that's the word, who, you know, we followed over here, but he was there in the United States. We followed many of those policies over here too, saying that there may have been a flaw in his free market ideology, which has caused him some distress now that we're facing a credit crunch, I suspect.
A bit late telling us now.
Others have been in distress as well, but never mind. The Times: genetic MOT will detect disease in unborn child. We're looking at this story too. This is a test that we'll talk about in some detail, which might let you know the sort of problems that your child could face at embryonic stage. And The Independent: David Cameron accepted free flights to hold private talks with Rupert Murdoch. The Independent is claiming, we don't know details of what they say about that, but that will prove to be quite interesting.
Indeed. Daily Express features petrol prices too. Petrol down to 89.9p at certain supermarkets, but for how long, one wonders, in view of that OPEC meeting that Kate's just been talking about. Grievous bloody hypocrisy is a headline in The Sun. That refers to the figures released yesterday, which shows that some police forces have not been entering serious crime in the correct category and therefore misleading people as to the extent of it. TV feels fury over Kerry. I'm sure you all know about Kerry Katona on This Morning. What you may not have known is that, according to that report anyway, her husband was intimidatory, shall we put it that way, towards Philip Schofield. Daily Mail, pension victory for 500,000 women. Hundreds of thousands of women today win the rights to a full state pension. Stay-at-home mums, people like that, care service workers who've not paid enough national insurance in the past, but being allowed to make a one-off payment to make up for that. Meanwhile, on the back pages, well, Tottenham Hotspur dominates. Shambles is the headline there after their defeat last night. Time to Gomes, that's a reference to the mistake by their goalkeeper, which we'll come to in a tick. Front page of the Sun, back page of the Sun, well, self-explanatory headline. Doesn't need any translation. And on the back page of the Daily Express, look at the mess we're in. Well, just as you thought it couldn't get any worse, it has. Jason Cundy is here to talk about that game and the rest of last night's UEFA Cup action. I mean, Spurs are in such trouble.
They're in a bad way, no doubt about it, and this competition is probably the least of their concerns. The Premier League is what Ramos needs to sort out quickly, because the R word is now being banded around freely.
And we don't mean recession.
And we don't mean, well, maybe we do, I don't know. But the way Spurs are playing at the moment, they're low on confidence. Given the goal away they did early on, Gomez has got caught there. His arms are all over the lad, and he's made the most of it, but you can't go doing that in the penalty area. If that was a defender, you'd want a penalty. And he dispatches it pretty well. Up until that point, John, they were doing pretty well, Spurs. They were keeping the ball well. Yeah. And when they were going forward looking for the equaliser, in fact, Bent had a shot save that was just seconds before that. They make it 2-0, and of course the tie is over.
That was a bit lucky, I suppose. I mean, you have to ask what this all does to their confidence. I mean, Jonathan Woodgate says Spurs now like Leeds when Leeds were in
worrying. He was there.
Yeah,
he remembers
exactly.
it. Bentley's come out. He's made one or two comments which has left him out of favour. He wasn't involved in the squad yesterday. When you look at the situation, they've only won 5 league games this calendar year. In the league. Now that is relegation form, and it can happen. No team is too good to go down, and Spurs are in a real mess at the moment.
Will Ramos survive?
For the foreseeable future, I think he will. They've got Arsenal coming up, they've got Liverpool, they've got Bolton at the weekend, they've got Arsenal next Wednesday. I can't see them sacking him just yet, but his days will be numbered if this continues. You can't continue. It's not just this season; it's last season's form as well, which has led to this demise.
Good win for Villa last night against Ajax.
Yeah, I mean, I like Villa. I mean, you look at the transformation between them and Spurs. When you've got a manager like Martin O'Neill who's really stamped his authority. Great header from Larson, really attacked. The goalkeeper's had a bit of a nightmare. To be honest. But they got themselves back on level terms here, Ajax. Another header from another set piece. And you look around there, I think Villa was a bit concerned there because 2 or 3 set pieces around that period they were struggling. But they got themselves back in front just before half-time. Ashley Young down the left-hand side and Barry just has the easiest of tasks and putting it away.
Well done to them. Surprise of the night was the way in which Portsmouth got thumped in Portugal. 3-0.
Yeah, I've not seen the goals as yet, but the way they play it in the Premier League would suggest they can go through in the group because there's home and, of course, some of the games. They've got AC Milan, which are going to Fratton Park, which will be interesting.
Well, it'll be an event, to put it mildly. Yeah. Let's have a quick look at the weekend. Yes. Sunderland, Newcastle, and the possible return of Joey Barton. Should he be playing?
Yes, he should. Yeah, he's employed by Newcastle. They need him at the moment. They're not doing much better than Spurs. Although 2 draws in the last 2 games has kind of given them a little bit something to build on. But it's the game is high in emotion anyway. So you'd expect him to play, and they need him, like I said.
Jason, good to see you. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Now, with Bonfire Night fast approaching, the shops are already full of weird and wonderful fireworks. Most are safe and perfectly legal, but there's always concern that they'll fall into the wrong hands. Well, this year, the government's safety campaign is targeting so-called blaze experts, especially teenagers and dads who think that they know best, but actually don't. Nick Dixon has more.
In the wrong hands, fireworks can of course be potentially dangerous and even deadly. Now, 2 weeks before Bonfire Night, the government is cracking down on illegally sold fireworks and calling on retailers and parents to take responsibility. It's against the law to sell fireworks to under-18s or for under-18s to possess fireworks in a public place, and anyone over 10 years old could face a fixed penalty fine for misbehaving with fireworks. The government's campaign will also target so-called blasé experts, very often dads who think they know exactly what they're doing. Andy Minter was one of those dads. He was trying to outdo his neighbours with the size and scale of his fireworks display and ended up in hospital. These are just a couple of the pictures we could show you. The rest were simply too distressing to broadcast.
Oh dear. Well, Andy Minter is here along with Consumer Minister Gareth Thomas. Well, you look better than you did there, and those problems that all that you went through at the time, which is a good start anyway. Tell me what happened.
Basically, we had a night where we had friends round, had a big firework display, all went off good, everyone went home, and we had a massive one, which was like the finale, and we thought it had all gone off. So everyone went home, I went down to clear up, and there was still half of it left.
Good grief.
So I thought, oh, we'll have a go. So I was leaning over it with a torch, like, with a lighter, and all of a sudden, 2 of the rockets came up and hit us in the face. And then obviously once you had 2 in your face, your body sort of thinks, move out of the way. So luckily I moved out of the way while the others went up.
Good grief. Very, very nasty though.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and have you used fireworks and done sort of little displays before?
Yeah, it's been a big competition with the neighbours each side for a few years. I've been beaten for many a year.
Yeah, so it was a bit of bravado going on there as well.
Yeah.
Would you do it again, or would you go to public shows now?
I would probably go to a public show.
Yeah,
I don't think my wife would let me do it anymore.
The competition's been called off between you and the neighbours. Well, you can laugh about it now, and I can see that you're fine now, it's good, but other people don't, they end up with serious injuries, don't they? Don't they as well, Gareth?
They do. I mean, just listening to Andy just makes you feel nervous about what happened. But I think if people are careful, if they take some very basic precautions, then they can enjoy themselves on fireworks night. We want people to be able to organise a fireworks party at their house if they've got a long garden, if they're careful. If they follow the fireworks code, then people can have a good time and can be safe.
It's tricky though, isn't it? Because, when I was a little one, you had these little sort of tin boxes things, and they were pretty small, really, weren't they? In fact, we were always slightly disappointed, I remember, as a child, compared with the big displays. Now you get these massive, great things that go off, and they're like the sort of thing you would get at a public display, but you're allowed to buy it for your garden. So you say be careful, but it's difficult to handle that sort of thing for anyone, isn't it?
Well, there is a very basic fireworks code, which if you follow, then you can have a good time at a party that you've organised. But we do ask people to take very basic precautions. If you haven't got access to the fireworks code, then you can go on the government's website and you can see what the fireworks code is. You do need a big garden if you're going to organise a fireworks party yourself.
So you can be a long way away from where they're going on.
Exactly, so that you can be a long way away, so that you can keep your children well away from the fireworks, that you've got anybody else who comes to see fireworks going off, you can keep them at a safe distance.
OK, I think what most people are feared of is not those sort of displays, which are awful for the people involved, but it's sort of the youngsters that seem to be, not just from November the 5th, but from about now, really, from just before Halloween, starting to let off these big bangs in the night that wake you up and that scare your pets. So by targeting dads, are you sort of missing the point, really, because it seems to be these youngsters that are out on the streets with it?
Well, last year, over 680 people got prosecuted or got fined for mishandling fireworks, for letting them off at the wrong time, for selling fireworks to people they shouldn't have been selling them to. So we have got tough laws in place which trading standards and the police can use to crack down on people who are misbehaving with fireworks, and that includes and people who are letting fireworks off in the street in an inappropriate way. It includes people who don't have a licence trying to sell fireworks too.
OK, well, good to speak to both this morning, and thanks for coming in and telling us your story as well. Thank you very much indeed. Let us know that if you've had a bad experience with fireworks, email us GMTV, and we also have details of the safe way to do it on our website as well. Thanks very much indeed.
Time now is 18 minutes past 6. You're watching the News Hour on GMTV. These are the headlines you're waking up to this morning. Figures out shortly are expected to confirm that the economy has shrunk for the first time since the recession of the 1990s. OPEC leaders in meeting in Geneva are expected to cut oil production to boost the price. And British scientists have developed a way to screen embryos for all known genetic diseases.
Now, prospective parents could soon be able to screen embryos for almost any known hereditary disease using a revolutionary universal test known as a genetic MOT. The breakthrough has been developed by British scientists who say the testing could start as early as next year. Dr. Hillary is here. How's this test going to work then?
Well, it's an interesting test. It can test, as you say, for all of the 1,500 genetic conditions that are now known about, as opposed to just 2% that are currently tested for. And what it does is it looks at not just the specific DNA mutations where we know they exist, but it looks at the whole of all 46 chromosomes of an embryo. It looks at the entire chromosome pattern, a technique known as karyotyping or karyomapping, and it looks at all of the DNA sections on all of the chromosomes, and therefore you do the test and it gives you a result. It's not as if you're looking specifically for one gene or one mutation. It does it by examining the parent's profile, the embryo's profile, and can look at different sections of chromosomes in both the parents, and indeed it kind of examines the grandparents' DNA as well.
Good grief. So it gives you a lot of information
Absolutely.
about the potential problems of your unborn child.
Yes.
Of course, with that information then becomes responsibility,
Yes,
I guess, doesn't it?
of course.
What do you do if you find that your youngster has some terrible disease? You're then faced with that. Where do we go with that? Because people are going to worry that unless a perfect child is lying in the tummy, parents will just get rid of it.
Yeah, there's no such thing really as a guarantee for a perfect child, and it has to be remembered that this technique is for couples who fear a genetic abnormality in their child for good reason.
So it won't be available to everybody?
Absolutely, and it's done by IVF, so it's for couples who are having IVF, because you need to take a cell from the embryo on the second day. So this is not for everybody. This is for people who have known genetic problems within the family, who wish to avoid serious conditions like muscular dystrophy, cystic fibrosis, Huntington's disease. These are very serious and tragic conditions which, you know, in theory can be, parents can be protected against, so that they can choose an embryo that isn't affected by those conditions. Now, there are always pros and cons with this kind of thing. People will worry that it is heralding in a new age of designer babies.
Yes.
I don't think that is true. I don't think that's going to happen. After all, most parents will not have their children through IVF. Most parents know what decision they want to make. You cannot choose a baby with blue eyes and, you know, who is tall and dark-haired. Just wouldn't be enough embryos to do that, to check all those traits this way. And anyway, it's against the rules. It's not allowed. It's regulated against in this country. So I think that there are pros and cons, but the pros must outweigh the cons, because for the first time it enables couples who want to prevent a genetic abnormality in their child the opportunity to do it quickly, not terribly expensively. The price will come down. It's currently about £1,500. But to make responsible decisions in a way that keeps everybody happy, I think.
OK, Louis, thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
OK, now the time is 22 minutes past 6. Still to come here on the News Hour, a warning to parents to stay safe behind the wheel. We'll look at the risks being taken to get children to school on time. That's after this short break.
Special National Television Award to Julie Goodyear.
There is one award ceremony that is different from the rest.
Judy Richard this morning!
It's the people's favourite. The National Television Awards 2008, Wednesday at 8, ITV1.
If you fancy shaking it up next week, there's only one morning show, one website, both full to the brim with interviews and performances from the hottest celebrities. You know what we're talking about. GMTV and GM.TV, all next week.
No one gets anywhere in this business unless they're prepared to give 100%, 24/7.
You are exceptionally talented. Just don't realize it.
This is where I belong. Anything that makes me feel alive.
A new series, Britannia High, Sunday 6:15, ITV1.
Twenty-three minutes past 6. Well, move over Andrew Castle, the current queen of the dance floor and reigning Strictly champion Alicia Dixon is back.
Yes, winner of 2007. Andrew Castle is winner of 2008.
Yes,
of course.
we
That's
hope.
what
Some
we're
hope.
predicting.
No, he's doing very well.
He's doing awfully well. Awfully well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, of course, she was fabulous, and with her dancing success, she's making her much anticipated musical return next month. We got a look behind the scenes at the making of her new video and the single "The Boy Does Nothing."
Hi Hi GMTV, I'm Alicia. This is my video set. Come and check it out. Don't film the bum.
I got a man with 2 left feet, and when he dances not to the beat, I really think that he should know that his rhythms go, go, go. I got a man with
The song is called Boy Does Nothing, and it's a bit of fun, and we're playing around. It's very tongue-in-cheek, and even in the chorus where we say things like, does he wash up, does he brush up, does he clean up? It's very light-hearted, and it's the message, the overall message in the song is that if the man can dance, he might get a second chance.
he does nothing, the boy does nothing. Wash up,
It's not based on any particular man, it's based on men in general.
brush up, never brushed up.
The concept behind this video is full-on dancing, taking influences from different eras, you know, like the 30s and 40s, and just making it into a big dance number, you know. We've got like 50 dancers. It's so exciting, like, to work. I've never worked with that many dancers in a video before.
Alicia's been great to work with. She's the first artist that I've really had that really dances and loves dancing, and she's actually tired me out because she just wants to keep going and going and going and going.
We've done the dance about 6 or 7 times, and we're going to have to do it probably another 6 or 7 times, maybe more, because this is just the close-ups, and they've got to do a take from far away. So we should be super fit girlies by the end of this video. The outfit stays on because they sew me into the outfit. They literally sew up the sides, they sew everywhere that it's attached, and I've got shorts on underneath, so it's quite safe. Even though it's quite safe, you're still dancing and you're quite conscious that something's going to fall out, but yeah.
It's time.
Is she ready?
Yeah,
Before
she is. I'll be very excited. You excited
Not
about
Not
that?
for the Christmas party.
Well, I'd love to. I bet she'd love
Same
to
as doing my
dance with
paces,
you.
couldn't she? Yes, absolutely.
That could be the pinnacle of something.
Video that. Eh?
Yeah.
I'm sure you would. Let's find out what the weather... do I need to take my overcoat to Manchester City on Sunday?
Yes, you do, John.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And it's going to be very windy as well, so the ball might be deflected a bit more than normal. Tell that to the players.
That could have worked to our advantage.
Yeah. Let's take a look.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestle whole grain cereals. Keep your family healthy every day.
So these were the gusts yesterday, and these are sort of gusts we're expecting on Saturday. If you're out and about, it's going to be another nasty day of weather. But today, at least, we'll be seeing some sunshine. The cloud is now clearing away from the southeast, and we're seeing a lot of showers moving in across particularly Scotland and also Northern Ireland. And then what's happening over the next 24 hours, most of us seeing some sunshine, some clearer skies, and then this massive cloud moves in, and that means another wet day tomorrow. It's going to be wet, it's going to be windy. It's a blustery day out there as well this morning. Strong winds, particularly across Scotland as well as Northern Ireland, and the winds are going to remain very strong as we head through this afternoon. So the cloud still remains across the more southern parts of the country. Spits and spots of rain, never really amounting to very much, but it will clear. Wales, the Midlands, seeing some sunshine through this morning, and much of northern counties of England, the Isle of Man, as well as Northern Ireland. But these showers are quite heavy in place. We're seeing a line move through, and then another line later on in the day, and they're going to be quite heavy in places. So temperatures this morning hovering around sort of, I'd say 7, 8, 9 degrees Celsius. So not as cold as it has been. It's turning much colder next week, but this morning certainly is just about on the mild side. But the winds are going to be the main feature of the weather across Scotland through this afternoon. Gusts probably up to around 50 or even 60 miles an hour again. And with that, a lot of showers through the afternoon. Elsewhere, remaining dry and fine with some lovely sunshine. Now, turning a lot colder tonight in the south. That's because of the clear skies. And further north, we see that area of cloud and also some outbreaks of rain coming in. So for Northern Ireland as well as Scotland, northern counties of England, it is a wet start to tomorrow. The winds will pick up as well, and what we're expecting is the cloud and rain to gradually sink its way southwards. As it does so, clouds spilling ahead of it. We're hanging on to the dry weather across the far southeast, and temperatures typically, I'd say, 12 to 14 degrees Celsius. Come Sunday, it's looking a bit better. Again, sunshine and showers in the north, drier in the south. Here's your summary. Check out what the weather will be like this weekend on our website, gm.tv.
Hello, good morning. It's 29 minutes past 6 on Friday the 24th of October. You're watching the News Hour on GMTV. In the next half hour, a warning to parents to stay safe behind the wheel. We'll look at the risks being taken to get children to school on time.
And the curious incident of the missing moggies. It's baffled experts, police and locals in Wollaston in the West Midlands. 47 cats have disappeared without trace from one tiny area.
And after 7 o'clock, we'll be talking live to Richard Branson as he crosses the Atlantic on his latest record-breaking attempt. First clear indication of the state of the economy is expected in a few hours' time when the Office of National Statistics publishes growth figures for July to September this year. They're expected to show that the economy shrank for the first time since the recession of the 1990s. Pressure is growing now for a cut in interest rates. Gloria Pirro is outside number 11 Downing Street. Good morning, Gloria.
Good morning, John. Yes, for 16 years, Britain's economy has been growing, and that long period of growth has now come to an end. The Prime Minister said it earlier this week, as did the Governor of the Bank of England, and those official figures later this morning will confirm it. Britain's economy is shrinking. Britain is heading towards a recession. Redundancies, they are rising fast. Repossessions are up too. Sales of things like cars, clothes and shoes are down. Even food sales are down. That hasn't happened for more than 20 years. Shops should be about to enter their most profitable 10 weeks of the year, but it's going to be a difficult Christmas as we all tighten our belts. Some good news, increasing speculation that to lift this deepening gloom that the Bank of England will be prompted to cut interest rates again before Christmas to help us spend more, to help restore some of that growth to the economy. Now, what we don't know, John, is what kind of recession we are about to enter, how many jobs are going to be lost, how many homes are going to be repossessed, how long is this going to go on for? Is it a passing shower? Is it a prolonged downpour of rain? Well, economists can't agree or accurately predict that, but what everyone does seem to agree is that it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Gloria, thanks very much indeed.
OK, let's get this morning's other top stories now. Here's Priya.
Thanks, Kate. Good morning. OPEC leaders are holding an emergency summit in Geneva to discuss a cut in oil production designed to push up the price of a barrel. It could end the slide in petrol prices that has helped consumers in the last fortnight. Sainsbury's and Asda are the latest supermarkets to announce they're cutting their prices. Petrol company Total says it will also follow suit. Future parents could soon be able to screen embryos for every possible genetic condition after British scientists developed a universal test that's quick and accurate. Here's Nick Dixon.
It's a scientific breakthrough that could kill off inherited illnesses. Parents will soon be able to screen embryos for almost any known genetic disease using a new test developed by British scientists. At the moment, only 2% of the 15,000 known genetic conditions can be identified in embryos. The new test will be known as a genetic MOT. It involves creating embryos by IVF treatment and removing a single cell from each when they're just 2 days old. It'll take just weeks to carry out from start to finish, and scientists say it's suitable for people at risk of almost any condition. Parents could theoretically be told about their embryo's risk of developing conditions like Alzheimer's, heart disease or even breast cancer, leading to concerns that embryos could be discarded or used for the creation of so-called designer babies. Scientists say it would even be possible to use the test to select an embryo with a particular eye colour or to screen for multiple genes known to affect height or weight. This genetic MOT could be available as early as next year.
A slimming drug used by hundreds of thousands of people has been taken off the market because of fears about side effects. The European Medicines Agency took the decision to remove Acomplia after some patients suffered serious psychiatric problems. The drug's been used to help overweight patients with type 2 diabetes, but studies have found it doubles the risk of psychiatric disorders, including depression, anxiety and aggression. Thousands of women who stayed at home to raise children or look after relatives will now be able to get a full pension. The government is due to announce changes to the rules so that those who haven't paid enough national insurance can top up their contributions and qualify for the full state pension. It'll mean by 2025, around 90% of women will get the full benefit compared to just 35% now. Stars of the new film about George Bush say they'll back Democrat Barack Obama to take over in the White House. The Oliver Stone movie, called W, follows the career of the young George Bush and also his time as president. Josh Brolin, who plays the president, and Elizabeth Banks, who plays his wife Laura, both said they'll vote for Obama. The film had its European premiere in London last night. Sir Richard Branson is beginning the third day of his record-breaking attempt to sail across the Atlantic. The billionaire businessman and his crew have already been hit by fierce storms, forcing them off course. He's joined by his 2 children, Sam and Holly, and Olympic hero Ben Ainsley. He's attempting to break the transatlantic speed record in a single-hulled boat. He previously set a new record crossing the Atlantic in a powerboat. Look what's on our website this morning. We want a snapshot of how stressed Britain is today, so do take part in our survey and let us know what gets you stressed. Also, Bond's Aston Martin DB5 has been voted the most iconic British car of all time. Find out what else has made the list. And watch an exclusive interview with Mick Hucknall as Simply Red prepare to say goodbye. All that and more, GM.TV. Finally, a glow-in-the-dark feline in America has other cats green with envy. Mr. Green, as he's imaginatively known, was cloned by scientists in New Orleans. They added a fluorescent gene to his DNA so they can analyse how it worked. Boffins hope it's the first step in the development of gene therapy to fight the disease. I'm not too sure what was glowing in the dark, though. Was it just his eyes?
I'm not sure what was glowing in the dark either. Is the cat supposed to be green or his eyes?
Yeah, the cat. I think the cat, but maybe the lighting you couldn't really tell.
Maybe
that
you
well.
couldn't really pick it up that way. You can a little bit.
Oh, a little. His eyes are glowing, and maybe his nose. Good accessory for Halloween.
Yeah, very good accessory for Halloween. Yeah.
Seems a bit cruel.
Yeah.
Is it just me? Should we look into this story a bit more and then we'll get back to you on it?
Further research on that one before we actually pronounce on it.
Still to come on the news hour, the risks parents are willing to take behind the wheel just to get to their children to school on time. It's the school run we're talking about in a moment.
Yes, and another cat story for you. In fact, the case of Sherlock Holmes. Don't blame me, I just say the words. The curious case of the missing cats, lots of them, all in one place. Talking about that in a little while.
Thanks, Kate. Good morning. The top stories here in the northwest today. A teenager who shot a 16-year-old girl in the head in Manchester is due to be sentenced today. Sophie Finucane was found at her home in Gorton in June. 19-year-old Wayne Bryan from Gorton Villa Walk will appear before Manchester Crown Court later. Police are questioning 5 people in connection with the murder of a teenager in Liverpool. Army cadet Joseph Lappin was stabbed to death on Monday night. The 16-year-old was attacked outside a youth club in the Everton area of the city. A statue of comedy legend Les Dawson has been unveiled by his wife and daughter in St Anne's. Hundreds of people attended the ceremony in the ornamental gardens next to St Anne's Pier last night. Fans of Les raised £60,000 to build the sculpture. Now, a new exhibition charting Salford's musical history opens today. The Quiffs, Riffs and Tiffs exhibition captures the personal stories of some of Manchester's most famous acts, the likes of the Happy Mondays, New Order and Morrissey. The event is taking place at the Salford Museum and Art Gallery later. Blackpool Tower will be making history today as it hosts its very first wedding, almost 400 feet in the air. Over the years, there have been several blessings held at the top of the tower. But so far, the services have only ever been held in the ballroom. A couple will be tying the knot there this afternoon. Now, Britain's Got Talent winner George Sampson wowed fans at Manchester's Trafford Centre last night by helping switch on the Christmas lights. In front of huge crowds, the breakdancing sensation had the honour of welcoming in the festive season. He's been speaking to our entertainment reporter, Caroline Hacking.
This is something else. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing.
Does it sink in on a night like this?
No, it doesn't. I'm not going to stop thinking about this for years, honestly. Especially because we're in Manchester as well.
Now let's find out what's happening with the weather. Here's Joe with the latest.
GMTV weather is brought to you by new Olbus Menthol Lozenges. Breathe easy, whatever the weather.
Good morning. We can all look forward to a much better day than yesterday with more brightness around. A few showers this morning, but largely dry and settled this afternoon. Quite a blustery wind, and in that wind it's going to feel chilly. Top temperature 10 or 11 Celsius during the course of the day. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Well, that's all the news for the Northwest so far this morning. I'm back in about half an hour. First, though, it's over to Kate and John in London. Goodbye from all of us here for now.
Welcome back. Quick look at the morning papers. Daily Express says petrol drops to 89.9p a litre at certain supermarkets, although for how long one wonders, because OPEC meeting today and the thought is they're going to reduce supply and therefore increase the price. And on the front page also a lovely story about a garden in Wiltshire where nature still thinks it's spring and they're growing daffodils. Pension victory for 500,000 women, more good news. Women who missed out on full state pension will be able to claim them now. They make a one-off payment. That's all the stay-at-home mums. Grievous bloody hypocrisy, I should say, front page headline in The Sun. That's the crime figures released by Labour yesterday, which some say distort the true picture of crime. And TV fills fury over Kerry. Well, you know all about that. Kerry Katona on this morning yesterday, and apparently some altercation between Philip Schofield and her husband.
After she came off air, that was supposed to be, wasn't it? And yes, as you say about those petrol prices, it might not be as good as it said, because there we go, they could face a rise in price of petrol by 5 pence, as Daily Telegraph, The Guardian, Alan Greenspan, the financial guru, John calls him, says he may have got it wrong. The Credit Crunch has exposed the fact there may have been a flaw in his financial free market policies. The Times, genetic MOT will detect disease in unborn child. This is his test we've already talked about this morning, which could point out the flaws in embryos, so that you could take action if necessary, if you're concerned about it. And this story, Cameron Murdoch under Greek island freebie. This is accusations that David Cameron accepted free flights from Rupert Murdoch. That's what The Independent has to say.
Now then, if you're about to drive the children to school, you may want to stop and listen to this. New research shows more than 2/3 of parents are guilty of breaking basic traffic laws during the school run, putting children's lives at risk simply to get to school on time. Here's Edward Barron.
Home time at this primary in Essex, and we didn't have to look hard to see some pretty bad driving. Within minutes, 2 parents parked on the yellow zigzag markings outside, markings supposed to allow children to cross more safely. But parents here say there's usually far more and far worse.
Parents block the road and then they're pipping horns and trying to push past in the cars while the children are trying to cross the road. And definitely not sticking to the 20 speed limit at all.
They literally stop in the middle of the road amongst all the busy traffic in the mornings. They literally drop the children out. A lot of parking on the zigzag lines, which I specifically don't like.
A new survey shows more than 2/3 of parents break basic driving rules on the school run. 1 in 4 admitted to stopping on a junction. 1 in 5 stopped in the middle of the road to let passengers in or out, while 1 in 8 admitted speeding in a school zone. Well, of course, the clocks go back this weekend. With that, the school run becomes that bit more hazardous. With all these bad habits, the experts say both children and parents are being put at risk.
Well, joining us now is Joanna Bailey from the Road Safety Charity Break, and today they release a school run code to try to make parents and children more aware of safety issues. Quite shocking, that report, and even more shocking, the revelation that 2/3 of parents break some kind of traffic rule or law every time they do the school run.
That's right. I mean, this is a survey that's been looked into with one of our partners, Jet, who is a fuel retailer, and ultimately we're in a situation where people have perhaps been more honest than we thought they would be in that survey. At the end of the day, 8 people a week are dying on our roads. This time of year, as your report shows, is crucial because the clocks go back, it becomes dark. We need people to take more care.
Parking on zigzags outside the school is something I'm sure we've all experienced. I've seen it dozens of times, or I did see it when I used to take our son to school. And people say, oh, well, it's only for a minute.
It is only a minute, but of course, the next car's just for a minute, and the next car's for a minute. And somebody who's coming to school by foot may well have to negotiate that car. People, unfortunately, are stopping in the middle of the road. We've all seen that, and letting people just get out of the car. Suddenly, you're driving behind, you see somebody get out, you've got to stop. We're just asking for some common sense.
Yeah, the people stop in the middle of it. I saw one guy actually in the East End of London the other day, not outside of school, but park a white van in the middle of the road, caused the most horrendous traffic problem while he went to get a pizza. I couldn't believe this. And the buses and lorries back, it's a nightmare. But
that's what we're dealing with.
But you see, what it does is, I've just demonstrated, it makes people angry, doesn't it? And that when they're angry, they're going to cause accidents too.
We need people to think about driving as not just an everyday occurrence, which it is, but actually getting into a vehicle that could actually cause death. And ultimately, you wouldn't go to work and use a piece of machinery unless you had your wits about you. Your employer wouldn't want you to do that. So don't get in the car to go to work or go to school without your wits about you.
The other problem is, of course, everyone's on the last minute, aren't they, particularly in the morning?
We've all been there. Everybody's trying to get out of the house, aren't they? You're trying to get the right kit together to get everybody to the school gate on the right day. But
again, it's been shown that if you can take that little bit extra time, you're less stressed, you are not pushed to get there, then you are less likely to be in a situation where you're going to be on the zigzag, not park somewhere properly. Go into the school, have a chat with them about where they think is the best place to drop off the children.
The trouble is it's miles away sometimes, isn't it? Because you can't park. Simple as that.
Well, maybe you could consider walking. You know, many people actually do live within a walking distance. Perhaps that's the better option.
Or get out of bed earlier.
I'm afraid so.
Yes, OK. So good advice. Thanks very much, Steve, for being with us.
Thank you.
Now, there are many children under 10 that could stay cool, calm and collected in an emergency, but when little Jessica and Georgina Wilkinson's dad, there they are, looking very sweet this morning, had an epileptic fit and lay bleeding, would you believe, and unconscious on the floor, they seem to instinctively know the best way to cope. Well, here's a recording of the call that they made to the emergency services.
Why do you need an ambulance?
Because my dad fell down on the ground and it was something that...
Is he breathing?
I'm not sure.
Can you go check for me?
Okay.
Thank you.
And he's going a bit like this.
Right, what part of you say is bleeding?
On his head.
Right, just go to your daddy for me and find out if he's okay. Is he, if he's awake yet?
No, he's asleep.
All right. Georgina, check the keys in the pockets. Check your dad's pockets. Is there any keys there?
And I'll try and unlock the door.
Good. Can you see the ambulance?
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Thank goodness, and here we are joined by these two stars lifesavers, Jessica and Georgina, and Christina and David, mum and dad too. Good to see all of you. Well done, girls. Didn't you do brilliantly? Yes, you did. You did do brilliantly. Well done to you. Now, we're going to hear all about it from you two in a minute when you get used to me asking you questions. Dad, how are you, first of all?
I'm doing very well now, thank you very much.
Goodness me. Did you have any idea that they knew what to do, even dial 999?
Well, we hadn't really come across this situation before, and it was only afterwards when we got to find out, you know, how they knew about 999. It came from a children's book that they said, oh, it's 911. You call for an ambulance, you call 911, and we said, well.
About that then. So, what did you think, girls, then, when you saw Dad lying on the floor? What do you think, Georgina?
I think. Because we didn't see him lying on the floor.
Oh, what happened then? Sorry.
We just thought, we didn't know what he happened of, and we didn't know how he did it.
No, well, why would you? So what made you think to pick up the phone then?
Because the ambulance...
Want to get the
actually...
ambulance? Oh, go on,
yeah,
sorry.
we want to get the ambulance.
Right, yeah, very, very sensible. Goodness me. And what did you think, Jessica? Did it come from this story then? Tell me about that.
I think...
How did you know to ring 999? What did you tell us?
Because we've seen it on a film.
Very sensible. Well, that's very good, isn't it? You sounded so calm when you were talking to the operator. Were you a little bit scared at all?
No.
No? Just thought you'd sort it all out and take charge and get on with the job. You must be ever so proud.
Oh, we're the proudest parents in the world, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, when you said before about had we shown them what to do, when they were about 2 or 3, I remember distinctly having this conversation with them about, you know, what to do if anybody was in trouble. But 2-3 years on from that, I can't believe that they've managed to
You said they got an 911, the American number.
Well, they talked about 911, but we said, well, in this country, girls, we actually use 999.
I got it.
But this was about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I got it.
Apparently it was the character called... What was the name of the character, Jess, that you said? Was it...
Handy Mandy.
Handy Mandy.
But Georgina's seen it in My Little Pony magazine.
I know Handy Mandy. He's a repairman, isn't he? He goes round and repairs things. Yes, my little girl
I
likes
went
Handy
on
Mandy.
vacation.
Ah, you went on vacation and there was an emergency, was it? You see, it's amazing what you learn from these things. It's very clever, very clever. Well, I think you're brilliant. It's brilliant that you did it all and you looked after your dad so well. I think you might have considered doing something in the medical profession when you grow up. You should nurses or something. What do you think about that? Not sure.
Yeah.
Not sure. OK, all right. Well, lovely to meet you. I know you're coming back for a chat later on as well. So talk to you a bit later.
Yes, very well done to all of you. Still to come on the news now, the curious incident of the missing moggies. 47 of them, all from one small town. We'll be meeting one baffled and very concerned owner.
And after 7 on GMTV today, Gordon Ramsay cooks for us all, and he's going to be cooking the perfect breakfast, scrambled eggs. He's doing it live. That's coming up after 7.
Welcome back. 8 minutes to 7 is the time now. For many of us, the thought of losing a much-loved pet is extremely upsetting, but imagine living in an area where nearly 50 cats have disappeared in the last few years. The mystery centres on a small area covering just 6 streets in Wollaston in the West Midlands, an area now being called, and brace yourself for this, the Bermuda Triangle. Owners, residents and police and even the RSPCA have been left completely baffled, as Tiffany Royce now reports.
It's a missing persons list that would baffle even the sharpest detective. 47 cats, all from the same area, all precious pets who vanished without a trace. The missing moggies all came from homes in the quiet tree-lined Meriden Avenue and its surrounding roads in Wollaston in the West Midlands. Some families have lost up to 3 cats, and residents have now named the area a Bermuda Triangle for pets. It certainly wouldn't be hard to steal a little cat like Henry here, although the owners on Meriden Avenue think that their cats have been taken and then sold on. There haven't been any clues to the disappearances, although a few discarded collars have been found. No bodies have ever turned up. The situation has got so bad the RSPCA has now stopped rehoming cats in the area for fear of them meeting the same fate. And the trail for the missing moggies has now run cold.
Bizarre. Well, we're joined now from Birmingham by Julie Wotton, one of the residents who's lost a cat. Norman, I think, was your cat, wasn't it, Julie? Do you know under what circumstances he disappeared?
Well, he just didn't turn up for breakfast one day, so normal everyday thing, and no cat turned up.
And you went looking for him, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And no trace whatsoever?
None at all, no. And I mean, this wasn't a cat that sort of wandered off, or you know, some cats do. They go missing for a couple of days and then trot back again. Norman wasn't that sort of cat. You know, he liked his food, he liked his sofa, he liked his bed.
Was he a valuable cat?
No, absolutely not. Just a common garden moggy.
It's a real problem. It's quite a mystery, this, isn't it? I mean, 50 or nearly 50 cats in one area. Some people having lost 2 or 3. It must be putting people off having cats.
Yes. We've had people move out of the street. A couple of people will not have cats and won't have any pets. Other people have had dogs instead because they're too scared to have cats.
What's your theory?
Well, obviously we think it's a person. We think it's a malicious person who is taking the cats and either dumping them or disposing of them in some other way. Subsequent to it being in the newspapers yesterday, we've had a few phone calls, and one was actually a pet detective 10 years ago who was looking into the matter. Really? So this has been going on for a very, very long time.
Well, I can tell you, according to my Daily Express this morning, it's an even bigger problem than even you imagine, perhaps, because according to Daily Express, or according to Saga Pet Insurance, who've done a survey on this, which the Daily Express quotes, 3,000 cats go missing in Britain every single week. And the theory put forward here is that some of them are taken for the fur trade, some of them even spare the thought for animal testing. Do you think that possible?
Well, I hadn't heard that number. I mean, I'd heard that 10,000 a year go missing, but 3,000 a week is quite extraordinary, isn't it?
It is unbelievable. Do you think it might just be a prank, some kids?
Well, after this length of time, you'd have hoped they'd have grown out of it if it was children.
Well, that's a fair point. I suppose as generations go on, other youngsters might take it up, but it's a real mistake and causing real distress for people.
Absolutely. I mean, behind every photograph, there's a family that have been out searching, putting posters up, asking people to look in their garages, children missing their pets, searching their gardens, hoping that the cat's going to come back. Yes, it is. I mean, it's a real distress.
Well, I'm sorry to hear it, and thank you very much, Chief, for telling us about it. Hopefully a bit of publicity, a bit more publicity might to throw some more light on it in due course, but thanks for sparing your time this morning. Good to see you.
Cheers, thanks.
Now that's it for the news hour. I'm sticking around, I should say. John's going for a nice cup of tea, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, Ben Shepherd's going to come in his place. Lots still to come, though.
Yes, they're cooking scrambled eggs live with Gordon Ramsay, and the Hollywood star Josh Brolin is live in the studio after 8 o'clock.
For all that, though, Claire is here. Very excitingly, spring's coming back. What's going on?
Yes, it's been very mild, hasn't it?
Yes.
I think we've got a lovely photo to show you. Look at this. Now, that is an amazing photo. Is it? Someone obviously has got a real eye there. But that little boy, Spence, has been picking daffodils in Wiltshire.
What, recently?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a front page of the Daily Express story this morning. Again, I'm quoting the Express. Nature's just got it wrong.
Nature's got it absolutely wrong, and I think it's going to be a bit of a shock to the system next week because it's turning much, much colder. The wind's coming in from the Arctic. So all those lovely daffodils may be no more.
Spring flowers won't be.
You have to wait till next February, to be honest.
It's a funny old world, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Very strange. Take a look at that.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestle Whole Grain Cereals. Keep your family healthy every day.
So this is the picture next week. Rather cold, overnight frost, heavy showers in the north and west, and that's because the wind is coming in from a northerly direction. For the time being, it's a relatively mild start to the day. We're seeing the cloud just clear off the scene down towards the southeast. This is the culprit that gave the rain yesterday. And we've got another massive cloud waiting in the winds, and this is going to bring even more rain to us tomorrow. The winds are going to pick up again tomorrow, but even today, it's going to be a very windy day across Scotland and even Northern Ireland. And the reason why we're seeing showers, the best weather is likely to be away from those spots. This morning, the area of cloud is slowly breaking up. We are seeing spits and spots of rain across the Channel Islands as well as the southeast. Anywhere from, I'd say, central parts of Wales and Midlands northwards, you're seeing sunshine this morning. And I'd say there's a chance of some heavy showers across Northern Ireland and the north and the west of Scotland. There's a band actually moving in, and that's going to be quite heavy this morning. Before clearing away, another band of showers comes in later on. So this morning then, it's a bright start today. It's a beautiful start in some parts of the country and not particularly cold, to be honest. And this is how we see this afternoon. The showers coming and going right the way through the afternoon. Still gale force winds in the north and the west of Scotland and gusts up to probably around 50 miles an hour. It's windy elsewhere, but I'd say it's more of a breezy day rather than a very windy day. And one or two showers continuing across Northern Ireland as well. And then later on tonight, the cloud will thicken again, and that's going to bring some outbreaks of rain during the night. Rain across Scotland as well as Northern Ireland, and clouds spilling ahead of it across northern counties of England, Wales, as well as the West Country. But I think clear skies across central and eastern areas of England and down towards the Channel Islands mean it's going to be a chilly start to tomorrow morning. Maybe a bright start, some of us seeing some sunshine before the cloud slowly moves in later on. Again, the heaviest rain will be across Scotland and Northern Ireland during the morning. The rain then moves its way southwards, but the winds are going to pick up again, and that could be a problem tomorrow, gusts up to probably, in places, 70 miles an hour. And then come Sunday, the rain clears away, but the wind then slowly shifts in from the northwest, and that's the turning point, really, when it comes to our temperatures. Still hanging on to double figures for Sunday. Most of us seeing some sunshine, one or two showers again across the north and the west, but then come next week, it's looking pretty horrible, temperature-wise, but at least there will be some sunshine around. But temperatures by midweek, probably only single figures with night frosts. Here's your summary. Get the weekend outlook for your postcode on our website, gm.tv.